Good evening, Rowan. It's the evening of the 16th of October 2015 and it's 10 to 8. And just before I start all my raping and pillaging over the weekend, I thought I'd make a video of the next instalment on my mini-series about Teresa of Avila. Well, when I say about Teresa of Avila, I mean about the bizarre lecture that you gave about on the 29th of September 2015 at Dedham Parish Church. Before I start that, I hope you like the picture of your favourite artwork of St. Teresa. I dug it out especially for you. It is an absolutely fabulous work of art. The ecstasy of St. Teresa. I expect you're jealous because you usually are. Anyway, without further ado, I'll move on to my next instalment. So I'm quoting from you now. In her 40s, this is Teresa. In her 40s, things began to change again, and she describes once again, very vividly, as she always does, a moment when, in the cloister of the convent, she saw a statue of what's quite a common theme in Spanish religious art, Christ at the pillar. That is, Christ strapped to the pillar, ready to be scourged. And she felt an immediate and powerful sense that she was needed. Here was Christ alone and suffering, and where was she? And she concluded that she was being called simply to be where he was. And that meant a radical rethinking of everything she was taking for granted. So, this refers to an incident that Teresa describes in chapter 39 of her autobiography, although they're hardly recognisable as the same incident. But anyway, here's what she says, chapter 39, parts 3 and 4. I was once in the deepest distress, because I knew that a person to whom I was under great obligations was about to commit an act highly offensive to God and dishonourable to himself. He was determined upon it. I was so much harassed by this that I did not know what to do in order to change his purpose, and it seemed to me as if nothing could be done. I implored God from the bottom of my heart to find a way to hinder it, but till I found I could find no relief for the pain I felt. In my distress, I went to a very lonely hermitage, one of those belonging to this monastery, in which there is a picture of Christ bound to the pillar, and there, as I was imploring our Lord to grant me this grace, I heard a voice of exceeding gentleness, speaking as it were in a whisper. My whole body trembled, for it made me afraid. I wished to understand what was said, but I could not, for it all passed away in a moment. This is part 4 of chapter 39 now. When my fears had subsided, and that was immediately, I became conscious of an inward calmness, a joy and delight, which made me marvel how the mere hearing of a voice, I heard it with my bodily ears, without understanding a word, could have had such an effect on the soul. I saw by this that my prayer was granted, and so it was, and I was freed from my anxieties about a matter not yet accomplished, as it afterwards was, as completely as if I saw it done. I told my confessors of it, for I had 2 at this time, both of them learned men, and great servants of God. So why have you given a completely false account of this event then? Did you just forget it and you made it up? Well, I don't think so. I think there's a political purpose behind it, because there usually is behind the things that you say. So let's look at what you said again. Teresa describes once again, very vividly, as she always does, a moment when, in the cloister of the convent, so not in a hermitage, She saw a statue of what's quite a common theme in Spanish religious art. So a statue and not a painting. Christ at the pillar. That is, Christ strapped to the pillar, ready to be scourged. And she felt an immediate and powerful sense that she was needed. Well, that's not what she says that this event was about. Here was Christ alone and suffering, and where was she? And she concluded that she was being called simply to be where he was, and that meant a radical rethinking of everything she was taking for granted. Well, you're not talking about Christ, are you? So let's read on this quotation from you. This is what you said next. So she and a few other sisters began to reflect on how they might live a life closer to the Gospels, how they might live a life in which there was space for silence and intimacy with God, how they might lead a life that was not like the amiable, upper-class boarding house environment of the convent. You really are a psychopath because you never learn. Do you enjoy making a fool of yourself? Is that what it is? Anyway, that's the next instalment of my mini-series for this evening, and don't think I've finished yet because there's plenty more in that lecture. And I don't even know anything about Thomas Merton, so you ought to be grateful for that, really. Anyway, don't forget that I'll be turning up soon enough to make a citizen's arrest, and you never know, it might be tomorrow, it might be the day after, it might be on Monday. It could be any day, you never know, so be alert. Have a nice weekend. Bye.